Hi, and welcome to our webinar. For the ones who already know us, you might have noticed that our platform recently changed, as we updated it to AMBOSS Next, so a few options changed. This is why I'm here today, to show you and our most recent users how to use our new interface, so that we can make sure that you can get the most out of it. But before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Margherita, and I recently joined the AMBOSS team to help students like you to get the best possible medical education. In particular, I'm supporting students and Students Association to get access to the platform. But before we start our deep dive into the AMBOSS structure, let me say something about our company history for the ones who don't know much about it and what it is about. So the idea AMBOSS came up with that is trying to improve your way of studying medicine and the medical education field was born here in Germany in 2010 from a group of doctors. At the end of their academic path, they just thought that consisted of too many references, tens of books, hundreds of references. They just thought there must be a way to study smarter and improve and optimize your way of studying medicine, especially when it comes to preparing for exams. So this is how, in 2012, AMBOSS, the German platform, was launched. And today, after a few years, 96% of German medical students use AMBOSS on a daily basis and to prepare for their exams. And given this incredible feedback, after a few years, they decided to make it accessible to other medical students in the world. So they translated the platform into English. And in 2017, the English platform that you know was launched. One of the most appreciated things about our platform is the unique combination of knowledge, training, and statistics. There are indeed three main components to help you to improve your studies, your general studies, and your preparation for exams, which are our library, including all the most important knowledge for preclinical and clinical years, our question bank, including more than 4,700 clinical cases, and our analysis section for you to keep track of what you studied and understand where you should focus more on. So before we start seeing in detail how these components are structured, let me quickly tell you how to log in first. So if you don't have an account, please, I recommend you to do it now so that you can actually follow me as I talk. So you can surf to our website, and where you see here, login, you just click. And then you can register either using your email address or, even faster, your Facebook or Google account. So let's log in. So once you are in, the only way you can really get access to the platform for real is to redeem your code. Indeed, once you purchase AMBOSS, or if you have a free trial code, please go to the shop section. Here you have this other section, Activate Code. You can just copy-paste your code and click on Activate Code. Then, if your university has a campus license, that is, if they decided to purchase AMBOSS for their students, you can just select your university from this drop-down menu, select it so that you can receive a confirmation email where you have a link, and then you just have to confirm it, and that's all, you're in. So now that you know how to access to the platform, let's start our platform tour. So let's go back. So this is our dashboard. As I previously mentioned, there are three main components. Let's repeat them. So the library, the question bank, and the analysis. Let's start from the essentials, so that is medical content and our library. So our library is divided actually into two main sections. Basic sciences, including all preclinical topics, and clinical knowledge and clinical skills, including clinical topics. As you can see, it is structured in a way you can that it can assist you and guide you from the very first day of your medical school until your final exam, as well as during your medical career. The basic sciences section is divided into two main categories by discipline or by system. So imagine, for example, that I am a student in my preclinical years and that I want to prepare for the immunology exam. I click here and I want to have a look at the adaptive immune system learning card. So let's go. Once you open the learning card, you can immediately see on the left this learning card structure so that you can easily find the information you need. All our learning cards present these underlined terms. What does it mean? Basically, if you hover over one of these, for example, memory T cells, there is a short description that pops up where you can understand, in case you forgot, for example, what is this term or what this content means. You can, if you want to go deeper, you can be redirected to the equivalent learning card. In other cases, if you just click on the term, for example, this one, you are immediately redirected to the section where this content is mentioned. In general, all our learning cards include multimedia files such as illustrations, charts, images, videos, and quizzes. For example, here we have an osmosis video. You might have heard of it because they are quite known for explaining complex medical contents by using nice graphics and a clear exposition. In what refers to this specific topic, as you know, in the immunology, one can be a tough one because you need to have a good knowledge of all the processes and mechanisms related to the adaptive immune system. So this is why we added several charts and diagrams like this one, for example. If you open it, you can see how this process is structured, and you have the caption on the right telling you and guiding you step by step so that you can better understand what you are reading. We have other examples like this one. And if we go a little bit down, we have tables. So tables always include the complementary information. And each table can be maximized, and you can better see how this complementary information is really well structured in a clear and simple way. And you can always start a quiz by clicking here. So the content is blurred, and like this you can better test your knowledge and challenge your memory. Then at the bottom of each learning card, you can always see references, and these are the references our editorial team used to write this content. So if you want to look if you want to have a look at other learning cards, you can always use our search bar. So for example, let's type pneumonia. So in this case, the interface is exactly the same. You always have the same structure on the left. And here you can see another osmosis video. And we have another amazing feature that I'm going to show you. For example, we have microscope images. Let's open this one. This is very useful for this specific topic because you can actually see how the lung tissue within this context is, and you have the caption explaining you and giving you further details about this specific image. And then, most importantly, we have one of the most amazing features, which is the overlay feature. And here, for example, it highlights in green the abnormalities you were looking for specific to this to this image, so to this topic, and because you have to be able to recognize them when diagnosing a patient. And then, last but not least, we have the Smart Zoom option, which is also very useful because it is very hard to identify tissues. And with these little red dots, you can actually click and have a pop-up description giving you further and more specific details about this particular case. And you can then recognize what these points are. Then if we scroll down a little bit, you can see also in-house videos like this one for clinical examination, particularly handy for the ones who started having a more practical approach, so in their clinical years, for example. Then we have 3 tools which are quite useful, especially when it comes to reviewing for exams. These main 3 tools are the highlight option, the high yield, and learning rather. So by activating the highlight, for example, when it comes to medical content, sometimes it can be overwhelming. And thanks to this tool, you can immediately see what is the most relevant information about this topic, and the platform already filters it for you. And if you combine this option with a high yield, it's even better, because if you have to review for an exam, if you're short on time or you are about to embark for an epic study session, you can use both tools so that you can really focus on the essential. And that's what the high yield option does. So it makes the most important information, so really the essential, visible. In this case, then, if you want to go a little bit deeper, you can click on the Learning Rather option, and featured in red, you can actually see the points that you missed, for example, here and here, during your last question sessions. So this gives you the chance to monitor your performance and see what you got wrong and where you can do better. So in this case, you can always start another session based on this topic by clicking on Question Bank Session. Let's go. So here you have your question session based on clinical cases. So after reading the case, you can always refer to lab values, for example, or you can use the key info option, which underlines in green the keywords, or the attending tip that gives you the chance to develop your critical thinking. It's just a tip, so it doesn't give you the answer, but it allows you to develop your critical thinking, which is very important. And this is part of AMBOSS goals, that is giving students the chance to grow as future doctors, because you will have to find your own creative and smart solution in an autonomous way. So this is why the attending tip, and in general having an active approach when you study medicine, that is why it's very important. Then once you're ready to answer, you can just select the option, and then either it's correct or not, you always get an explanation, because it is fundamental and crucial to always understand why this is wrong and why this is correct. Then, if you want to personalize your sessions and your questions and tailor them to your needs, you can always go back to Question Bank and click on Create a Question Bank Session. So here you can select different filters, for example, by symptoms, systems, disciplines, difficulty, learning cards. And in this case, let's imagine that I want to be more specific and that I want to test my knowledge about symptoms related to head and brain. Then I select the nervous system and neurology. Let's go here. And I can always rename my sessions. So in this case, and I will show you in a bit why this is really important. Because you can actually see later that all the sessions you start are visible in your analysis section. And this is very important if you don't have much time, for example. You can always resume previous sessions, and it's very easy to find them then in your personal list under the analysis section. But as I said, I will show you that in a few. For now, let's complete our session, and let's just select 10 questions. And here you have either the study mode with or without explanations, or the exam mode. Let's go for the second one. The main difference is that in this case, I can't use the key info or the attending tip. And this is very useful if I want to review for an exam and I want to challenge a little bit more my memory and my preparation. This is very useful. So if I want to see how my performance is going, as I said, I can go to the analysis section where I get immediately an overview, and I can always see the percentage of questions that I answered incorrectly, that I answered with help, and that I answered correctly. Then here I have my learning recommendations where I can actually see where I can do better and where these topics need to be reviewed, or where my performance is doing great. And here, as I previously said, there is my personal list of the most recent question sessions. I can always start them again, resume them, see my last answers, and in general, this section is very, very useful, especially because you're not lost anymore. You can always track your activity, monitor it, so that you can be a better doctor in the future. So these are the main features, and I hope it was clear. And I hope you could see how AMBOSS can be an extra resource to your general studies, and especially a very good tool for your exam preparation. And all these features, so the overlay feature and the other one, the highlight the learning rather, they can be very useful, especially when it comes to your long-term memory. And speaking of long-term memory, we recently integrated a new add-on, which is called ANKI. Many of you already know it. ANKI is a digital solution that helps you to better your memory and your way of studying, because it includes the flashcards system that you might have heard of it already. Basically, a flashcard is a card where you have the question on a side and the answer on the other side. So why is ANKI so useful, and what is the main mechanism behind? So basically, it is based on the spaced repetition technique. You all know reviewing for an exam one day before the exam is not as useful, as efficient as doing it 2 weeks before, 1 week before, 4 days before, or 2 days before the exam. And this gives you the chance to better to strengthen actually your long-term memory and to study smarter. Also, this is very important for you to monitor and redirect the forgetting curve, showing how the information can be easily lost over time if there is no attempt to retain it. So it's very easy to use. You can download it from our website, and you can always link your flashcards to AMBOSS learning cards. So even when you don't know, for example, the meaning of a specific term, you just have to hover over it, and then you can have access to the AMBOSS platform. So this is very useful. I recommend you to check out our webpage. and to download it. Then before concluding, you should know that AMBOSS can be downloaded. There are two main apps, so for the question bank and the library. Both can be used offline, which is amazing, especially if you're traveling or if you don't have any internet connection. You can always keep studying. So I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you very much for your attention, and study better with AMBOSS.